Yeah, sorry. I realize I don't have it. You might be hearing a hot echo here. But, yeah, so uh, that's not what I don't need to hear that. So, until we come back from lunch, guys, sit tight. It'll be about another 10 minutes and we'll be back up and running. So, but yeah, definitely share the stream. Stay tuned. Mark Jensen's son is set to testify today. So, um, that should be interesting. And he's, again, now this is the defense's case right now. So he's one of the defense's witnesses. So you'd think that it'd go the other way around, but apparently he's been called to, get his dad's back. So, uh, with all the evidence against him, it's amazing to think there'd be anybody, especially close to the household and that was involved with the case, that would have any, you know, even a second thought about his guilt. So I'm not sure what light the his son is going to be able to shed on the case, but who knows? Maybe it'll work out. You know what I mean? What up? What's up? What's up? The troop in the house. What's up, dude? Yeah, so I'm gonna be back here in just a minute. Um, I gotta bop out and handle some stuff here with in the on the stage, and I'll talk to you guys here in just a few. Sit tight. In about 10 minutes, we'll be back up and running with the second half of the day 12 for the antifreeze killer case. You guys are amazing. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure to share the stream. I will see y'all here very soon. But court will be ready to roll for you. Yeah, I'm in the Zonks over here. Well, we're doing stage development, so we got all this gear back here. What are you gonna do? Either way. Um, Also, Memphis. Stay tuned for that. There's a chance it might be popping up there tonight. Cover things. Looks like things might be cracking off in Memphis due to the body cam footage of the police involved death of someone that was being apprehended and apparently beat to death at the hands of some officers. So that they're expecting already a pretty uh, maybe a violent response to what has been deemed video worse than the Rodney King beating. So stay tuned for that as well. It should turn out to be something pretty wild. If not, I have people that are heading to Memphis right now, so we'll be able to hopefully broadcast live tonight. So definitely something to stay tuned for. But between now and then, share the stream, guys, and I'm going to bop out and handle some business. And I'll talk to you here in just a few. All right. Trey, what's up, man? Good to see you, dude. Really good to see you. Get a hold of me. Call me.
All right, we're back on a record. Mark Jensen, 2002 CF 314. It is the afternoon of January 27th, 2023. The appearances are the same. Jury's back in the courtroom. We are on a defense's case. With that, Ms. Krause, who's your next witness?
Ms. Renner, actually.
Ms. Renner, who's your next witness?
That will be Laura Koster. She has requested, however, that the media not take shots of her.
I'm not going to allow that. I don't think I should allow it for the other one. So. Raise your right hand, remain standing. You solemnly swear the testimony is meant to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. You can have a seat. Spell your first and last name for the record.
Laura Koster.
And can you spell that for us, Ms. Koster?
Yep, Laurakoster.
And Ms. Koster, I'd like to start out by having you introduce yourself a little bit to the jury. Where are you from?
I'm from here, Kenosha.
From Kenosha Lifelong?
Yes,
And are you familiar with Mark Jensen?
yes, I am.
How are you familiar with him?
He's my brother.
And were you familiar with Julie Jensen?
Yes, I was.
Who is Julie Jensen to you?
She was my sister-in-law and my best friend.
So you said you're Mark's sister. Do you have any other siblings besides Mark Jensen?
No, just Mark.
And are you older or younger than he?
Younger than Mark.
Ms. Koster, when you speak, can you speak like right into that microphone?
Yes, sorry.
No, that's okay. You can actually pull it closer to you too, if that'll help, or move it up and down.
Is that better?
Oh, much better. Thank
Okay.
you. So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up as a Jensen in Kenosha?
Nothing it's just ordinary. You know, I went to school.
Where'd you go to school?
Forest Park, Southport, Lincoln, and then Tremper.
So you graduated from Tremper?
I did.
And do you know where Mark went to school? Let's say for high school.
Tremper.
You went to Tremper
Yep.
as well? Now, after high school, did you take on any higher education?
I did. I went to Parkside.
And what did you study at Parkside?
Finance.
At any point, did you go to any other colleges as well?
I did. I went to a semester at UW-Oshkosh.
And do you remember when that was?
Probably not exactly. No, but
In like maybe your freshman or
no,
sophomore
no.
year?
It was not my freshman year. It would have been, well, maybe like the next semester in. So
Okay.
like probably like 82.
Sure. And after college, and you said you received a degree in finance?
I did.
So after college, what did you do after that with your employment?
I worked for Harris Bank and then a couple of other smaller banks to come closer to home and not have to commute so far. And then I ended up at Abbott Laboratories.
What did you do at Abbott?
I worked in IT there for most of my career.
And so when you say you worked in IT, what were you doing?
Oh, you know, I was there a long time. So everything from PC support to building servers, infrastructure support, things like that.
Okay. Are you currently employed?
No, I'm retired
And when did you retire?
last year.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
So I'm going to take you back a few decades here.
Okay.
Can you tell me about when you first met Julie Jensen?
I met her when she started dating Mark.
And at the time, did she have a different last name?
Yes, Griffin.
Okay. And do you recall how you met her?
No, not really. Just within the realm of her being around and dating Mark.
Okay. So when you first met her, was she at that point your best friend?
No.
How did that come to be?
I don't know, just over time, because when she was spending a lot of time with him, then she's in your circle because you're around the house together and things like that. So it just developed over time.
Do you remember when Mark and Julie started dating?
I mean, you want the year?
Or if anything as a point in time that would help you to remember that?
Not really. I don't. It's just so long ago.
Were you in high school when they started dating?
I don't know. I think they met I don't even know if they met in high school. I don't know if they met in college or high school.
Do you think it would potentially refresh your recollection to look at your prior testimony in this case?
Probably. Okay. So I met her after they started dating, which was apparently right after high school or in high school.
Okay. Now, do you recall when Mark graduated from high school?
1977.
And what did he do after high school?
He went to college, and then he started starting businesses like painting and things like that. Painting's the one I remember.
Okay. Do you remember where he went to college?
Oshkosh.
And when you say he had a painting business, when was that and where was that?
It was in town. So, and he was living at home. So, and I think he would hire, if I recall right, he would hire college kids in the summer and then paint during the summer.
Okay. And so that was here in Kenosha?
Yeah,
And that would be during the summer months during college?
correct.
And did Julie go with him when he went to Oshkosh?
Yeah, they did go to school there.
Now, do you know what Mark was studying in college?
I think it was finance,
And what was Julie studying?
nursing.
And is that something that you and Julie would talk about on occasion?
Yeah, afterwards. I mean, because I think she quit her program like in her third year, if I recall right.
Now, Ms. Koster, I'm going to show you what's marked as Exhibit 97.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that document before?
No,
Can you tell what it is?
it's a transcript with grades.
And whose transcript is that?
Julie's.
Now, this isn't something that you've seen outside of a courtroom. Have you seen this in a courtroom previously?
I don't believe so.
Okay. But you said that's Julie Jensen's transcript?
Yeah.
So I want to just talk about some of the information that is therein. Not looking for any commentary, just looking for what is on the page.
Okay.
Now, it starts out on page 1 with a number of transfer credits,
Right.
and those include classes like biology elect. Do you see that on
Yep.
there?
I do. 62 credits.
And what other type of biology classes are listed under the transfer credits?
I'm going to object to this line of questioning. I don't think it's relevant.
Well, we'll see where they're going. I'll give them a little leeway.
There's just general biology and biology elect.
And then are there also classes about physiology?
Yes.
What kind of classes are there for physiology?
Human.
And any psychology classes?
Yeah. There's a couple.
What are those?
Social in general and genetic.
And then moving down on the page, it appears that there's classes that were taken at UW Oshkosh,
Yep.
and those actually have grades associated with them on that transcript, right?
Right. Yep.
Fair to say the transfer credits didn't have grades.
Correct.
So I'd like to ask you about her grades in some certain classes. How about let's start out with human anatomy. Can you find that on there?
She's got to be
And general organ biochem?
A,
How about bacteriology?
B,
Pharmacology?
A,
Med-bact and epid?
A,
Genetics?
A,
Now we've also got psychology of abnormal behavior,
A,
sociology of the family.
A.
Do you see anything except A's and B's on that transcript?
No, she was really smart. I think she almost had a 4.0 average.
Wow. It also indicates that Ms. Jensen was awarded an associate's degree. Is that right? On the second page?
Yes.
Now, I think you said that Julie ended up not finishing her degree.
That's what I remember. Not their bachelor's degree.
Okay, so she got the associate's.
Yeah, I never knew she had an associate's degree.
Okay. Do you know why she didn't complete that education?
No, there was something that happened, but I was never told what happened.
Okay.
But she decided to quit.
Now, based on your conversations with Ms. Jensen, as you got to know her and had a friendship with her, did any of those areas or subjects continue to interest her after college?
I don't think that I wouldn't say that they interested her. I would say that she applied them.
Okay. And can you think of anything specifically that she had applied?
Like just general health care and first aid. You know what I mean? So it would be like, these are my symptoms. What do you think I have? Oh, it sounds like an upper respiratory infection, things like that.
So you would come to her with your medical questions?
Sometimes, yeah, if I wasn't sure.
Now, I understand that Ms. Jensen ended up not finishing her degree. Do you know what she did after leaving school at UW Oshkosh?
I do not.
Do you know if she ended up coming back to Kenosha?
I do not off the top of my head, no.
So when was it that you and Julie got close?
I don't have a distinct moment where it happened that I can say it happened at this, at this period of time in our lives.
Okay. Where was Julie living when the two of you were close?
I think she was until she was living at home. I don't know where she went in between that. It's like my recollection really starts at the strongest when they got engaged and we're starting to plan to get married.
Were you a part of the wedding planning?
I was,
Why were you a part of the wedding planning?
because I was maid of honor.
And who asked you to be maid of honor?
She did.
How'd that make you feel?
Objection, relevance.
Sustained.
Okay. Now, do you recall when Mark and Julie Jensen got married?
The year,
Year or the date, what you recall?
April 14th. And I don't know the year off the top of my head.
Was there something that happened at the rehearsal dinner that stood out to you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
Her mom had like an episode, a medical episode, and had a seizure at the rehearsal dinner.
What happened when Julie's mom had the seizure at the rehearsal dinner? Do you recall?
Yeah. Julie jumped in and told everybody not to do anything because she would, all likelihood, because she was seizing and she would likely bite your finger off. And then she said, just let her go.
Okay. Was an ambulance called?
Yeah.
Do you recall if Mark had any reaction at that time to the,
I don't recall his reaction.
and you just described Julie's reaction. Did she ever talk with you about that episode later in your friendship?
No, not really in detail. It was like once it was over, it was just over.
Okay. Well, did Julie ever talk with you about mental illness?
Yes.
What were those conversations about?
I'm objecting. I think that this is calling for hearsay.
We're getting close, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Your Honor, at this time, I think we should talk about this outside the presence of
All
the
right,
jury.
folks, you get an early break. Please don't talk about the case. Side of the courtroom. What exception are you using to get this hearsay in?
Your Honor, I believe, first off, it is impeachment of other witnesses who say that there is no history of mental illness. Additionally, I believe it goes to much of Julie Jensen's own mental state of what she thought about her history as well as her dealings with her family's mental illness.
You want to say anything, Ms. McNeil?
So what statute are you relying on for the hearsay exception? Because just saying it's impeachment doesn't make hearsay admissible. So what is the hearsay statute is what I'm wondering that the defense is relying upon.
One moment, let me look up at the exact statutes. Your Honor, I would direct the court to 90803.
Sub 3?
Correct, about then existing mental state. This also is impeachment of Paul Griffin, who indicated that he was not aware of any history of mental illness within the family until the time of the rehearsal dinner. Additionally, I would say that it is a prior inconsistent statement, which is the impeachment
A prior inconsistent statement of whom?
of Mr. Griffin.
So she's going to testify to something Paul Griffin said?
No, to something that Julie Jensen said that was different than what Paul Griffin said.
Right, but that's not a prior inconsistent statement. Prior inconsistent statement deals with the same person. And subsection 3 is then existing mental, emotional, or physical condition. Then existing, not history. What is attempted to be introduced here is Julie recounting a history, not her then existing state of mind, emotion, sensation, or physical condition.
Which has been discussed in Jensen 2 extensively, that her mental state and what she saw as her statements about her mental state as well as her mental health history, including that of her family, should be admissible.
Well, if they get into specific questions of the existing state of mind, emotion in that area, I'm going to allow it under sub 3.
I think current, not historical.
Well, she'd have to be pretty definite about what was said. We're not just going to have a rambling answer. She's going to have to talk about when the statement was made and what the statement was, and that's what sub 3 says. It says statement, doesn't say history.
Right, exactly. I'm objecting to history.
Right. So you can ask specific statements, okay?
Thank you.
Good. Bring the jury back. Rise for the jury. All right, we are back on the record. Mark Jensen, the appearances are the same. Jury's back in the courtroom. The witness is still under oath. You can continue, Ms. Renner.
Thank you. And let's be a little more specific here. After the rehearsal dinner, did you have any conversations with Julie Jensen about her mother?
No. I mean, not in that regard to that incident.
Okay. Did you ever find out why there was seizures occurring?
I believe it was an alcohol issue.
An alcohol issue, what do you mean by that?
It was like a withdrawal.
Okay. And during Did Julie Jensen ever confide in you about concerns about herself based on her family history?
I can recall one instance.
And do you recall when that was?
I could get close by the year.
So can you do that for us, please?
It would either be 95, 96, or after that when I was working part-time.
And what did Ms. Jensen tell you about her concerns?
She was just concerned because of her family history that she just didn't want to get. She didn't want to get it.
When you say get it, what was she talking about?
She didn't want to have depression or any mental health issues.
Did she ever confide to you about mental health treatment she was receiving?
No, not at that time. She did later, but not at that time.
Not at that time?
No.
Okay. So Going back to the 1980s,
Okay.
could you describe what you saw in Mark and Julie's relationship in the 1980s?
Just two people dating, doing normal dating things.
Did you spend time with both Julie and Mark during that period?
Some, but not a lot. I mean, he was older. So, I mean, they had their own circle of friends. So, I would see them when I was home and they were around, for the most part.
Now, did Julie and Mark have a child?
Yes.
And do you recall when that occurred?
They had more than one, but it was 1990.
For the first child?
Yeah.
And what was his name?
David.
So can you tell me about when you found out that Julie Jensen was pregnant? How'd you find out?
I don't remember specifically, but I'm pretty sure she probably told me.
What was her reaction to being pregnant?
She was very happy. She loved little babies. She loves children, so
And what about Mark? What was his reaction?
they were both happy as far as I can recall.
And do you remember what year David was born in?
1990.
Now, did you ever have occasion to see Julie interact with David when he was young?
Yeah.
And how would you describe their relationship?
It was a good relationship. I mean, she was a great mom, and I thought she was a great mom. I learned a lot from her. I think she must have had more experience with children than I did, because I did not have any experience with children.
What about Mark? Did you see him with David?
Oh, sure, but not as much because he was working.
And how would you describe Mark's fathering abilities?
Fine. He was there less, obviously, but he was fine at it.
All right. Now, when David was born, was Julie still working?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh, no, she was.
Oh,
I think she was.
and do you know what she was doing for work?
She was working for a stock brokerage firm, I think in Lake Forest.
Do you remember her getting any licenses or anything for that job?
Yeah, I think she got her Series 7, if I recall right.
What's a Series 7?
Stock brokerage license.
Okay. Did she do any classes or go back to school to do that, to your knowledge?
I don't know if she did. I think she might have studied for it on her own.
So fair to say that Julie Jensen was a smart person?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to take you to the 90s now.
Okay.
And did Julie Jensen have her own vehicle?
Yes.
And from what you saw, could she come and go from the home as she pleased?
Yes.
Would you describe her as a woman who would act independently, or was she dependent on Mark to tell her what to do?
No, she didn't need Mark to tell her what to do.
Now, I think you said, or at least alluded to the fact that at some point Julie stopped working,
She did.
and she did that to be a stay-at-home mother.
Yes.
Were there any other kids in the 90s that you're aware of that were watched by Julie?
Yeah. Douglas came along after 5 years ago or 5 years later, but she watched mine, and then there was some other children in there too that would, weave in and out as she was watching them, and then they would drop off and not be watched by her anymore, and then she might pick up another child to take care of.
So you had a son.
I did.
And when did you have your son?
In 1991.
And what's his name?
Drake.
Do you remember when you started having Julie care for him?
Right when I went back to work.
Any idea when that would have been?
It would have been it would have been April-ish of 91.
Okay. And how often would Drake stay and be cared for by Julie?
5 days a week for 2 to 3 years.
And so when Drake was being cared for by Julie, would that be at Julie's home, at your home?
Julie's home
And how many times a day then would you see Julie?
twice, dropping off and picking up.
Now, I understand it sounds like at some point you stopped having Julie care for Drake. Is that true?
I did.
Why?
There were, over time, I don't think she was that happy in watching all of those multiple children. So it was just a situation where there was a couple things that had built that I was noticing that I was just watching. But then there was an incident where she called me at work one day and was really yelling at me, which is not Julie's demeanor at all. And she just said that I needed to get home and get home now, and that the kids had wiped like feces all over the walls. And I was like, what? And so I left work, drove home, and I called Mark and I said, you need to get your ass home. Excuse me, because I don't know what's going on, but there's something wrong. And when I got there, he had beat me because he didn't have to drive as far as I did. And
How far of a drive was it for you?
25 to 30 minutes. So he was there and the kids were there and there really wasn't anything wrong.
So there wasn't feces?
No.
Was there anything to indicate that there had been cleaning happening?
No.
And do you recall approximately when this happened?
It would have happened in 1990. I think it would have happened in 1995, early 1995, because I went on leave shortly after that.
Ms. Pastor, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 120. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
What is it?
It's my official request to my director for a leave of absence.
So that's the letter that you wrote?
Yeah.
And when was that written?
I drafted it February 14th, 1995.
And how close to this incident with the feces, no feces was that?
I don't remember like an exact number of days, but I went home that night and discussed it with my husband. And then with all things combined, I just told him that I felt that I needed to be home for a while to take stock of some things and, figure out what's going on. And so he just said, do it, see if you can get it done.
Okay.
And so I went in and I wrote the letter.
And does that letter indicate that there's childcare issues?
It does.
And what were you referring to when you said there was childcare issues?
The last incident, because it was the most grave incident. So, it was really the only thing that I was referring to when I wrote this.
Did you remain friends with Julie after that?
Yes.
And did you continue to see her?
Yep.
How regularly would you see her?
We generally got together once a week.
Okay.
And it was usually Thursdays. It was just so we had a schedule. So, and we continued that even then when I was done. I signed up for a 6-month leave, which was a family leave, which I didn't realize, but there was a family leave that the company put me in for 6 months. And then I requested an extension, which was a personal leave. So once I went back to work, I went back to work 3 days a week. And so we could still keep our Thursday get-togethers, which was just the kids hanging out and me and Julie generally sitting around chatting.
So were you aware of the division of duties in the Jensen home?
Yeah.
How were the duties in the Jensen home divided?
I would say probably not that differently than my house. It was just traditional. You know, if you're on leave or you're working part-time, you do most of the house things because the other person is gone a lot longer during the day. So that you're not spending your weekends running errands that you could get done during the day in like a quarter of the time.
So fair to say that Mark would work?
Yes,
Julie took care of the house?
yes.
Do you know who took care of the family's finances?
Julie did.
And how do you know that? Did she talk to you about it?
Yeah. I mean, in general, I mean, she bought all the groceries, did all the shopping and things like that for the most part. But she was constantly trying to be smart with the way that she spent the money.
Okay. Now you said that Julie bought all the food for the house?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Who did the cooking?
Julie.
Now, at some point, did Julie have a conversation with you about how she did the finances in the home?
I'm going to object. This is calling for hearsay again.
Sustained.
Do you know how she took care of the finances in the home?
I'm objecting. The basis of the answer would be hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, I think we need to talk about this.
It doesn't fall under subsection 3 that we talked about, so.
Your Honor, this is impeachment material.
No, it's not. Because
Hang on. Take a break, folks. Courtroom, go ahead, Ms. Renner.
Your Honor, the state presented the testimony of Therese DeFazio, who stated that Julie Jensen had no idea how to use a computer, that Julie said that. This goes to Julie Jensen using the computer for the home finances.
So what was testified to was that Julie could not turn on the computer, but if the computer was turned on, she could type things into it. And the only evidence that exists here is that things were typed into Quicken. And so this is not impeachment of Julie Jensen's statements. What it is an effort to introduce evidence of Julie Jensen's out-of-court statement to prove the truth of the matter asserted, which is hearsay, and the defense cannot do that with Julie Jensen.
Just let me, what offer of proof, what is she going to say
She's going
about the
to say
finances?
that Julie Jensen.
Well, objection, Your Honor, I object to the witness. I think that this witness should tell us what she's going to say.
The lawyer could give, I said an offer of proof from the lawyer.
But you see, if the witness is sitting right there, Your Honor, the witness could be influenced by the offer of proof.
Do you want
Your
her to
Honor, she
leave the
said-
courtroom?
I can leave.
She testified to this last time too, and there was no objection.
That doesn't mean there's not going to be one this time.
I don't want to get into that because each side, when Judge Schrader made the decision that helps them, they agreed with him. But when he made it, let me just finish. When he made a decision that didn't help him, then he said, forget it. I don't want to get into it. So what did she say last night?
Last time she said, and I believe she's going to say this time, that she spoke with Julie Jensen about using Quicken, and that Julie explained to her that she used Quicken on the computer for the home finances and how it worked.
That's already in the evidence, right? That's already in front of the jury that she did the finances on Quicken. So
Well, it's somewhat in at this point. It was during the computer testimony, we were able to get in the information that Quicken was used. And I don't believe there's been any direct testimony to say that Julie did it. It's been inferred many times, but I don't think it's actually been testified to.
Well, the subject has come up, so to move forward here, I'll let you ask just a few questions in that area and we'll move on. Just on the issue of Quicken and the finances, all right?
Exactly. That's
All
all
right.
I wanted.
Bring the jury back out. All rise. We're back on the record on Mark Jensen's case, 2002 CF 314. The appearances are the same. Jury's back in a courtroom, and the witness is still under oath. You can ask your question, Ms. Renner.
So are you aware of what Julie used for the home finances?
Yes, she used the checkbook, and then she also used Quicken as an application to try, the purpose for that is to try to dig down deeper to categorize your spend so that you can manage it more effectively. So you'll know how much you're spending on your groceries. You're going to know how much you're spending on, clothes, diapers, that sort of thing.
And that's something that Julie talked to you about?
Yeah, she was trying it, and it sounded like a good idea. So I basically told her, let me know how you like it. If you like it, maybe I'll try it. So she was trying it out for a period of time.
And did she ever talk with you about any other things she did on the computer?
I think she would search for activities for children and things like, I remember Disney. Don't remember any details about that, but probably mostly around the kids.
And she would use the internet for that?
Yeah.
Now, after David was born, are you aware of any marital issues that occurred in the Jensen home?
Yes.
How did you become aware?
Julie asked me to go to lunch, and she had a conversation with me.
And what was that conversation about?
I'm objecting again.
Sustained.
Hearsay.
What was Julie Jensen's demeanor when you got to that lunch?
It's not relevant. Objection.
I think she's trying to lay a foundation, so.
She was excited.
What do you mean by she was excited?
She was excited. She had met somebody through work, and she was crazy about this man. So she was excited.
And she was telling you about that?
Yes, she told me that she'd had an affair. She asked me not to tell Mark. And she was very happy. And she wanted to marry this man.
Did you tell Mark about this?
No, she asked me not to.
And as your friend, you?
Correct.
At some point, did you become aware that there was a divorce filed?
I knew after the fact.
Okay.
But I believe she withdrew it.
Okay. Now, in 1998, the year that Julie Jensen passed, how often would you see Julie?
Generally once a week. Wait, can you say that again?
In 1998, which is the year that Julie passed away.
Yeah.
How often would you see Julie?
Once a week. Oh, actually more than once a week that year because the kids were in some activities together.
What activities?
They were in karate
And what days did the karate happen?
Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay. And during these Mondays and Wednesdays, like what would happen during karate?
Well, we would just sit around and talk, and Douglas was there, so he would play because it was adjacent to like a gym where they were teaching the karate. It was an open floor plan to the gym area where he would play there, and we would just stand there and watch them do their karate and let Doug play.
Do you remember how old David would have been at that point in 1998?
8, 9, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, that's 8. Sorry. Sorry.
And how old was Doug?
Doug would have been 5 years younger. So he would have been 3.
And when the older boys were in karate, are you aware if Doug was participating in any programs or anything like that?
Like our extracurricular programs?
Or curricular programs? Was he in preschool?
He did start preschool, I think, when he was in his 3rd year at some point.
Do you know about when Doug would have started preschool?
I think not exactly like if it was at 3 or 3.5, but he was in his 3rd, in his 3s.
Okay. Would that have started in like September or January?
No, I don't remember that.
Okay. Do you recall talking with Ms. Jensen about how she felt about Doug starting preschool?
Yeah.
And how did she feel?
I think she was happy about it on some days and then realizing sad about it on others. It's just like when you send your child off to college. You're super happy that they're going. You're also super sad that they're going to be gone. There was a little bit of that.
So kind of empty nest?
A little bit, yes.
Now, are you aware of how Julie would fill her days when Doug was at preschool?
No, not really.
Now, also in 1998, did you notice anything that was happening with David as far as, I think, tics or anything like that?
David had tics. I do not remember the year.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I guess I do. He did have tics then because they went away.
Okay. What were the tics that you observed?
He would like have a tick on his face, and he also had a nervous habit of twirling his hair all the time.
When you say a tick on his face, can you describe that or?
It was just it was like an involuntary facial movement.
Okay. And you said that those stopped?
They did go away.
When did they go away?
I can't say exactly when, but it would have been later in 1998 or 1999.
Was it before or after Ms. Jensen passed away?
I think it was after.
I'm going to direct you to Thanksgiving of 1998.
Okay.
Is there anything about Thanksgiving 1998 that you recall or made Thanksgiving memorable?
It was a normal Thanksgiving. It was fine. And we did our normal trek where we were going to go up north after that for the weekend. And Drake wanted David to go. David wanted to come with. And Julie just wanted to stay home for whatever reason. He did end up going, but her preference was that he would have stayed home.
Did was there like any arguments or anything about that?
Not between me and Julie, but between Mark and Julie.
Did you see?
It wasn't much. It wasn't, they went into the living room, had a sidebar conversation and came back and said he could go.
Well, in 1998, did Julie tell you about any concerns she had about Mark?
Yes.
What did she say or do?
We had a conversation in fall, and she asked me, there was a couple different things that she had asked me in that fall. She had, she was having doubts about Mark for sure. And my thought of it was that she was unsure of what she was thinking, and she wanted to ask me a couple of questions to see if I could give her my opinion on it.
What kind of questions did she ask you?
She had asked me to look at a photo of a planner with a list on it in a plastic, like pretty large syringe, not a needled syringe, but like a plastic one that you would use to flush something out with, or dog medication, something like that. All she did was show it to me and ask me what I thought.
And do you recall what you told her?
I was not sure what she was looking for, and I told her it didn't seem that odd to me. But what I noted was her unsureness and the oddness of the question.
Now, did you ever have a conversation with Julie where she said that she thought Mark might be trying to kill her?
Yes, that was after that,
Okay.
but not the, I don't have a time frame for it. But we were at her house outside in the front with the kids playing. And she did mention that she thought that Mark might be trying to kill her. And she asked me if I saw it. And I looked at her because I was stunned. And she looked back at me and she said, "You don't see it." I said, "I don't." But I told her, I said, don't take my word for it. Because Julie never complained about Mark. So it wasn't part of our friendship that she would complain about him. So I told her, don't listen to me if that's what you think. If you feel you're in danger, come home with me and stay at my house, bring the kids, and we will make sure that Mark doesn't get close to you until you can figure this whole thing out. Or if you're not comfortable doing that because Mark's my brother, then go to Paul's, because I'm sure Paul will do the same thing.
And who's Paul?
Her brother.
And do you know where Paul was living at that
He
time?
lived in Kenosha. I don't remember where, but he lived in Kenosha. And I told her if she didn't want to do that, she should just grab her checkbook, pack up her kids, get in her car, and go wherever she wanted to go. But she shouldn't have stayed.
So Julie had access to a vehicle
She had her own car. Yes.
and she had access to the checkbook.
Yes, she did.
Did Julie accept your assistance?
She did not. She wasn't scared. It was a conversation while our kids were playing around us. It was a very, the emotional aspect of that conversation was extraordinarily flat for the topic of conversation.
Now, I understand you saw Julie at karate the Monday before she passed away. Is that correct?
I did.
And do you remember what the date would have been back then?
The 3rd was a Thursday, correct?
Yes.
So it would have been November 30th.
And can you tell me about Julie's demeanor during that conversation?
She was sad. For sure, she was sad.
What made you think that she was sad?
Well, just the conversation, you could tell she was sad.
And What did Julie tell you?
She told me that she was going to the doctor. Oops, sorry. She was going to the doctor and that she was going to be treated for depression. She told me she wasn't going to be at karate the next time and that Mark would bring David. And she said she wouldn't be seeing me for a few days because she had been treated for depression before and been put on medication, and it always made her feel terrible. So she said she wouldn't be around for a little bit. And I gave her a hug and I told her that if she needed anything to give me a call and that I would try to stop by on Thursday on my day off and check in on her.
Did she give you a call before Thursday?
No. And I did stop on Thursday
Well, what time did you stop? Do you recall?
about 3 o'clock. I was on my way to go get my son. It was just on the way.
And what did you see when you were there at 3 o'clock?
There was a small FedEx box on the porch, and the house was pretty dark. Like the curtains or the blinds in the back were all shut, and it was just dark. So it didn't look like anybody was up. So I didn't ring the bell or anything because I didn't want to wake her. And I just left.
Did it look like Mark was at home at that point?
No, it didn't look like anybody was home.
So how did you find out that Julie Jensen passed away on December 3rd?
I got a phone call to come pick up the boys and bring them home with me.
Who called you?
I don't remember.
Now, at some point, did you have an appointment to speak with law enforcement about Julie Jensen's passing?
We did. We got a call of an answering machine. I think there was a message that was left on our answering machine. Oops. And my husband called the officer back and he set up an appointment. And he came home and he told me that he set up the appointment. I was like, well, geez, it's like, she just passed away. Can we process this and have a little time for grieving? And can we do it a little later? And he's like, I don't know, I'll check with my dad. So he checked with his dad, and his dad said, sure, I think that'll work. They should accommodate your schedule. So he called back, canceled it, and said, we'd like to get through the holidays, and then we would be happy to meet with them. And my husband told me that the detective said he would call us back after the holidays, and we never heard from them. So we didn't think that that they needed to talk to us.
So did you go to, or I should say, when did you first see Mark after Julie's passing?
I don't remember the exact day.
It wasn't that day?
It would have been, I don't know. It wouldn't have been the exact day. It would have been for sure when I brought the boys back. And then I know I helped him get his bearings for like the kids in school, contact information updated, drop off and pickups and things like that okayed. And so, because he didn't know how to do any of that stuff. So I helped him with all of that.
How often would you be with Mark helping on those things?
I think once we got him in place, he could do it. It was just getting the initial, these are the processes.
And how would you describe Mark's demeanor during those first days?
Overwhelmed. I don't think he ever realized how much Julie did or how to do it.
Did he appear upset?
I would say that he was upset and just lost in general about how to move forward.
Did you see any signs of grieving?
Yeah.
What did you see?
He wouldn't, I think he would, it was general frustration that, I just don't know how am I going to get all this done? He said he didn't break down and cry in front of me on a regular basis or anything like that. I was there helping him, and we were working on getting things done.
Now, did you attend the wake?
I did.
And during the wake, did you see anything that was out of place?
Not that I remember.
Did Mark appear to be grieving?
Yes,
And did you attend the funeral?
I did.
And did Mark appear to be grieving at the funeral?
Yes.
And when you say he was grieving, what did you see?
Well, he was crying for sure, not the entire time, but but it's a sad situation.
Fair to say you were grieving too?
100%.
To receiving that phone call on your answering machine, did you ever call Detective Ratsburg?
No. Why would I didn't call him? I wouldn't have known Detective Ratsburg.
Nothing further.
Who's doing the cross for the state?
I am, Judge.
Go ahead.
There are two legal issues we have to address before that begins.
Another break, folks. You're getting your exercise this afternoon. All right, the jury's outside the courtroom. Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
So I just feel like this is something we're likely to argue about, so I wanted to bring it up. So the phone call that the witness was just asked about to Detective Ratsburg, Detective Ratsburg has noted and put in his report that during that phone call, the witness expressed to him that she was afraid that her brother had killed her best friend. And so I would like to ask her about that since she is denying. The phone call came from her to the detective, and that she indicated, not in a voicemail, but she indicated directly to the detective.
So she talked to the detective is what you're telling me.
Right. That is what Detective Ratsburg would testify to. Now, I didn't ask him that because we didn't have this witness yet.
All
I
right.
just asked him whether a conversation occurred.
What's your other issue? You said you had a couple legal issues.
Yes. The other issue is this witness has continually given Mark Jensen money on his commissary account, about $200 a month since he's been in the jail in relation to this case. I would like to ask her about that, as it shows bias that she is actively giving money to the defendant.
Well, we know it's his sister, so.
Right.
Right, but adult siblings don't always get along. And we have very recent evidence, $200 a month and $100 as recently as January 4th of 2023. So that is very recent evidence of bias. And I don't think bias can necessarily be presumed just because they're siblings when they're long adults. And, she has given him this money in spite of him having a very large balance of over $4,000 in his commissary account. So it's not like he's without money and she's just, trying to make sure he has soap and things like that. So I do think it shows bias.
How does the jury know that he has $4,000?
Well, I would ask this witness what she knows about it.
Right. Who wants to respond?
Your Honor, first off, as far as this commissary account, I think that first off, it's problematic because it shows that Mr. Jensen is currently in custody, which is something that this court and all courts go to great lengths to make sure doesn't come in when it's unnecessary to, because of the extreme bias that it actually causes in the mind of a juror. Additionally, I don't believe that putting money on your brother's books shows bias. It may show that she is helping him, but I don't think it shows bias. If the state wants to ask if she has a close relationship with her brother and that she is supportive of him, they can ask that. Getting into this whole thing about commissary just goes to show that he is currently in custody.
Well, we're going to allow the question as to the conversation or whatever was said to the detective. I think that's relevant. I don't want to get into commissary. I think it's just going to open up too many issues that we don't need to get into. So we're not going to ask that question. Okay, you ready to do your cross then, Ms.
Yes.
McHugh? All right, bring them back out. Rise for the jury. We're back on the record. Mark Jensen, 2002 CF 314. Appearances are the same. The witness is still under oath. The jury's back in the courtroom. You can start your cross, Ms. McNeil.
So you were just asked a question about whether you contacted Detective Ratsburg in the days or a short amount of time following Julie Jensen's death. Do you recall that question?
I do.
And you're denying that you had any conversation with Detective Ratsburg by phone during that time period?
I do.
Isn't it true that you did speak to Detective Ratsburg?
No.
Isn't it true that you told Detective Ratsburg that you were concerned, that you were worried that your brother killed your best friend?
No, I didn't know Detective Ratsburg.
But you knew that the Pleasant Prairie Police Department was investigating this
I did
death.
not. How would I know that? Nobody'd ever told me.
So you were not aware that the Pleasant Prairie Police Department was investigating the death of your sister-in-law?
No, I did not.
So when you picked up the two boys at the house, you didn't see police cars all over the place?
Sure, but there was a death.
And the cause of death was undetermined, right?
We didn't know that.
And lack of knowledge would call for speculation.
I'm asking if she knows.
It's overruled. Go ahead.
Can you ask me it again, please?
You knew that the cause of death was undetermined, right?
We didn't know the cause of death until after all of the medical stuff had been done. And if I recall, that was like 6 or 8 weeks later.
Correct. For a very long time, a cause of death of a 40-year-old woman was unknown.
Yes, but that was because of the testing process, correct?
Regardless of the cause, you were aware that there were a bunch of police at that house when Julie Jensen died, correct?
Correct.
And you were aware she was a 40-year-old woman and there was no obvious explanation for her to die.
Other than the fact that she just told me 3 days prior she was going on medication for depression and it was going to make her feel like terrible so she wouldn't be at karate. I do remember that part. I thought she had some sort of drug interaction that was the problem.
You thought that because your brother told you that, right?
No, I thought that because she told me she was being treated for depression.
So before we continue along this time period, I want to ask you a few questions about Julie Jensen.
Okay.
She was someone who, she always kept her house clean and spotless, right?
It was clean.
Okay. So when you describe this incident, you're testifying about a feces incident, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That would be something that would make anyone not happy, correct?
Correct.
And what Julie had actually told you is that your son Drake had wiped feces on the bathroom walls, correct?
I think so, yes.
Okay, and so she calls the mother of the child who has done this,
Correct.
And she informs the mother that this has occurred, correct?
Correct.
And it takes you around 25 to 30 minutes to get to her home.
Correct.
And don't you think that Julie Jensen cleaned up the mess?
There was no mess. There was no cleaning smell. There was no nothing. I had Mark and Julie standing in the room, not even looking at each other, and they were absolutely silent.
So you are saying that arriving 25 to 30 minutes after this incident, you saw no mess?
There was no mess.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that it was Julie's preference to stay home with the kids?
It is true.
And Mark wanted her to get a job.
There was a period of time, yes, he wanted her to get a job.
Well, and that period of time was up to her death.
No, her job was taking care of the kids. That
And
was an agreed upon thing between the two of them. So her job was watching her children and watching other people's children.
But isn't it true that in the weeks and months before Julie Jensen's death, Mark wanted her to get a job?
I didn't have that conversation with Julie. I knew that she was going to look for a job in a school because she liked being around children. And I thought she got it. I thought they offered her the position, but she chose not to take it. That's what I recall.
So I just asked you what Mark wanted, okay?
Okay.
Now, isn't it true that Mark was condescending to Julie?
Not around me.
Okay. Isn't it true that he destroyed her self-esteem?
Not around me. And Julie did not complain about it.
Isn't it true that Mark thought that women who stayed at home are brain dead?
He didn't respect that position as much as he respected his own.
Now, you testified about this time period when Julie Jensen had this affair and she was looking into getting divorced,
Yes.
correct? Isn't it true that Julie was afraid that if she got divorced, Mark would take the kids?
Yes, that was true.
And that's actually something that he told her, right?
I don't know if he told her that. It was a fear that she had.
So you are denying that Mark Jensen threatened her and said, if we get divorced, I'm taking the kids?
I don't recall her telling me that.
And so in 1998, when these marital issues are happening, even in spite of that, Julie Jensen was considering divorce, wasn't she?
In 1998?
Right. During the time period before her death, when she had all these concerns about her marriage, she was considering divorce, wasn't she?
I'm not aware of that.
Now, Julie Jensen, she was also preparing for things like normal people would do. Thanksgiving, correct? Where was Thanksgiving? It was at her house, right?
No, usually Thanksgiving was at my parents' house.
Okay, so Thanksgiving was at your parents' house,
Usually.
but she contributed to it,
Yes,
and she was preparing for Christmas.
for sure.
correct? Now, there's been a lot of testimony about Julie Jensen's mother, and you described the incident at the rehearsal.
Mhm.
That incident, I think you said, was from alcohol withdrawal, something like that.
I believe that's what I was told.
Now, Julie herself was not a drinker, right?
She was not a big drinker at all, no.
So she's not the kind of person who you would ever think might be drunk during the day,
Correct.
especially when she has kids to worry about.
Correct.
And Julie actually, during this fall period of 1998, Julie would actually take your son, Drake, to karate, right?
Yes, she would pick him up from his school at aftercare and drive him there, and I would meet them there.
And that was because your work schedule.
Correct. And the fact that his school was a half a block away from KYF.
Now, about the week of Julie's death, did Douglas go into daycare full time?
I don't remember the date that Doug went into daycare.
Now, you're very familiar with Julie and her interest and things like that, right?
Mhm.
So she was interested in gardening,
She did like gardening.
and she was interested in sewing and doing crafts like that.
Yes.
She would make her kids Halloween costumes.
I don't remember that, but she probably did.
That was consistent with her.
It was
interests.
consistent with the things she would do. Yes.
She obviously had the book club.
Yes.
And you are saying that she searched on the internet for things for the kids.
I think it was activities, maybe sewing things. It was the things that she was interested in.
Okay, but you specifically said that she searched on the internet for like Disney stuff for the kids?
We had conversations about Disney for a period of time. She had wanted to go to Disney and take the kids to Disney.
Okay, so we'll see those searches on the internet?
I don't know. I wasn't with her when she did the searches. It was just a conversation in her kitchen.
Okay, but Julie's interests, you are saying that she would search for on the internet.
I think so, yes.
Now, Mark Jensen also used Quicken, right?
I don't know if Mark used it, but I know that Julie used it. I mean, they could both have used it. They both used the checkbook.
I mean, both parties would be interested in the family finances,
I would
right?
think so, yes.
And Mark Jensen, he had a client named Jeff Sorensen, right?
Yes, he was a dentist. He was my dentist.
Okay, and so if that information about Jeff Sorensen is on Quicken, that would be because he's Mark's client.
It would be because she's paying a bill because they got dentistry done there. That's why it would be in Quicken.
Okay, so Jeff Sorensen's stock information, his portfolio would be on Quicken to pay a bill?
I don't know if that would probably be an entry that Mark would have made if he's doing business with the man and he paid money or something like that. I'm not familiar with why he would have an entry like that, but it's his business.
Now, you talked about Julie Jensen ending her college studies of nursing, correct?
Correct.
And I think you testified a little while ago that some incident happened and you didn't know why she ended her studies.
No, I did not know why.
Hadn't you testified in the past that it's something that she didn't want to do? She didn't feel like she wanted to do it?
It could be. Yep. I mean, I don't have a specific reason. So without a specific alternative reason, I'm guessing she didn't want to do it.
Okay, so there's no nefarious incident that occurred.
Not that I'm aware of.
And leading up to this time when you ended up taking a leave from your work to take care of your son, Drake, did Julie ever actually say, I don't want to watch Drake anymore?
No.
Okay, so what you have explained is based on whatever you observed, correct?
Correct.
And the specific thing that you have testified to about observing is the feces incident.
That was the largest incident.
Now, you've talked about the time period after Julie died and having to help Mark navigate life with the kids.
Yeah.
But that wasn't for long
No.
because Kelly was there.
I don't know if Kelly was there. She wasn't there when I was there. I
Well-
don't think I met Kelly until Easter.
Didn't you go to David's birthday party that January?
I'm sure I went.
Kelly was there.
I don't remember her being there.
Was she just introduced to you as a work friend?
Well, if she was introduced to me, I'm sure she was introduced to me as a work friend or I would be really angry.
Because you did not know that your brother was having an affair with Kelly at any point until after Julie's death, correct?
Correct.
And do you think if you had known that, you might have had a better understanding of Julie's demeanor before her death? If you had known that Mark was having an affair?
Well, yes.
Now, I want to ask you about these pretty concerning conversations that you had with Julie in the weeks before her death. So you have testified that she showed you a photo,
Yes.
and describe for us what was that photo?
It was a planner with a list of things on it and a plastic, I said syringe, but it's not a syringe because there's no needle. But it's a plastic, it is a syringe, but there's no needle. You just put like water in it and it pushes it out the other end. So that's what it was. I have things at home that I do that with my dog. So, but it was plastic.
So from what you could see in the photo, it appeared to be a syringe and you just didn't see a needle.
There was no needle, no.
And so you know this was from Mark's planner,
Yes,
and you know that Julie took a picture of it.
yes.
So Julie was very concerned about this.
She was not concerned when she showed me the picture.
So she just,
She was
you know,
concerned when she took the picture for sure, but she wasn't concerned when she showed it to me. She just asked me what I thought about it.
okay, well, people show each other pictures of their kids and of their dogs, and she's showing you a picture of her husband's day planner. So
Correct.
don't you think she was concerned?
She was not concerned. She wanted my opinion on it, and she just wanted to know what I thought about it. She was not upset in any way.
So what was she asking your opinion on? Mark's handwriting? You know,
She did not lead me to anything. She simply asked me, what do you think about this?
So you are saying that you literally had no idea why she was showing you this or what her concerns were.
Correct. It was clearly Mark's, but I didn't know why she was showing it to me.
And you didn't ask?
I told her I didn't think it was a big deal. And she did not offer why she was asking me. That was the end of it. She was fine with that answer. And it was literally a 10 to 15 second, probably 30-second interaction on it.
Well, she told you that she had taken these pictures and given them to a neighbor, right?
I think she did tell me that I think she gave some pictures to a neighbor. Yes.
So
She didn't tell me that she's taking this. I don't think she told me that she was taking that picture to the neighbor. I didn't know what picture she was taking to the neighbor, but she was friends with her neighbor and she said she gave him some pictures.
So in this same conversation, she also told you that.
I don't think it was the same conversation.
You think?
Maybe, no, maybe it was.
I mean,
I
how-
honestly don't remember. I think it was. I might have just gotten myself confused.
Okay, so you are not testifying that there were multiple conversations?
No, there were not multiple conversations, so it had to be the same conversation.
Now I want to ask you about this conversation you had when Julie expressed her concern that your brother was trying to kill her.
Okay.
You said, I believe, she had a very flat demeanor.
It was, yes. It was much the same demeanor as the photo. It was just a conversation. We were talking and she changed the subject and that was the subject change.
Okay, so tell us everything you know about this conversation, everything you remember about it.
We were in the front yard. It was fall. It was a really warm day, which is why we were outside letting the kids play in the driveway. And so they were playing around us and we were just standing there while they were playing and we were chatting. And she asked me the question, or not, she just made the statement. And she asked me what I thought about it. And I turned and I looked at her and I just stared at her for a second to figure out what is she thinking. And she looked back at me and she said, "You don't see it." And I said, "I don't. But if you're in danger and you really feel like you're in danger, then you need to go and don't listen to my opinion. Come to my house. We will keep Mark away from you until you can figure out what to do. And if you don't want to do that because he's my brother, go to your brother because he will help you. And if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, then grab your checkbook, get the kids, get your car, and go wherever you want to go. But you shouldn't stay here."
So Julie was concerned enough about what was going on in her life and her relationship with your brother that she told you that she was afraid he was going to kill her.
Yes.
And this conversation happened after the photo conversation.
Correct. Not close together, not too close together, but I think it was in the same month. But yes, it was close.
So if she gave those photos to her neighbors around November 20th, then this conversation would have been within about 7-10 days of her death.
No, I don't think so. At least that time frame does not seem right to me.
Okay, but if we have evidence of the day she gave her neighbor the photos and this conversation was after that, then it would be very close to the time of her death.
It doesn't seem like it is to me in my head.
But you knew it was fall,
I do know. Yes, it was fall.
and you said it was outside just because it was very warm out that day.
Right. But how do I know that the pictures that she gave her neighbor was the one that I looked at?
Well, it would be suggesting that she gave her neighbor pictures multiple times, right?
Or different pictures? I don't know.
Now, during this conversation, you have described to us what your response was, but didn't you actually tell Julie that you lived with Mark for 18 years and you have no idea what he's capable of?
No, I didn't tell her that.
You never told her that?
No.
Okay, so if
I don't remember ever telling her that.
you did live with Mark for 18 years,
Okay,
you grew up with him,
I did.
but you're denying saying to Julie Jensen when she expressed this concern to you that you don't know what he's capable of.
I do deny that.
So if Julie Jensen told that to Therese DeFazio that you had said that, then that's a lie?
I don't know who Therese DeFazio is.
Okay, so if Therese DeFazio is expressing that Julie Jensen said that you said that,
Objection, this is hearsay.
it's not hearsay, it's showing that Julie Jensen made this statement to other people that this witness is denying.
You can answer it. Go ahead.
Can you say it again, please?
So if Therese DeFazio is saying that Julie told her that that's what you said, then that's not true, right?
I would have to say that's not true.
And same with Ted Voigt.
I would have to say that's not true.
Now, you are denying talking to the police after Julie's death, correct?
What do you mean denying talking to the police?
You're saying that Detective Ratzberg, whatever he has to say about you calling him, that's not true?
That's not true.
Okay.
I didn't know who he was.
But Julie, okay, and so because you're denying talking to the police during this time period, are you also denying talking to any police officer in the days and weeks after Julie's death?
I don't remember talking to a police officer.
Okay, so you would have never said to the police that you thought your brother killed your best friend?
No, I did not say that. I didn't know who the man was.
And so you think the time period is different, but let's say sometime in the fall before Julie died, Julie expressed to you the fear that Mark was trying to kill her, correct?
Objection asked and answered.
It's foundational for the next question.
All right, Lee, ask the next question.
And you never told the police that.
No, I didn't.
So Julie Jensen ends up dead, and you don't tell the police about what Julie told you about her fear that your brother was going to kill her.
You have to remember that I know that Julie already had some mental health challenge with the initial episode, that she saw something that wasn't there. This seemed very much like the same thing to me.
Well, except that she ended up dead, right?
Objection argumentative.
Let's rephrase it. Go ahead.
So it's not the same because Julie's fear that she would end up dead, that she would be killed. Well, you knew at least that she was dead.
And I also know that she went to go get treated for depression because she had figured out that she needed the help and she got the medication. She started taking medication and when like 48 hours later, she was dead. I thought she had a drug interaction. I had no reason to think that Mark had killed her because she was just asking my opinion and she was unsure of what she was thinking. That's what I thought.
So you knew that you had this conversation. You knew she was dead. isn't it true that you would have told the police about this conversation if anybody but your brother was the suspect?
If I didn't, can you ask that again, please?
You would have told the police about this conversation if anybody but your brother was the suspect.
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled. Go ahead.
It didn't have anything to do with it being my brother. I thought this was an issue that was singular to Julie, and that it was a mental health issue. I had seen nothing from my brother or Julie that led me, or that they were even unhappy in their marriage.
So you're aware of the years of harassment that Julie had faced?
No, I'm aware of some harassment from her old boyfriend.
So you believe the perpetrator of that was her old boyfriend?
Yes, and that's what Julie told me.
So if Julie had told you in this conversation that she was afraid due to these years of harassment that her old boyfriend was going to kill her, then you wouldn't have told the police that either after her death?
Well, first of all, it wasn't years of harassment from her old boyfriend, but if all the it was not the same thing. You're asking me if I would not have, if she had gone, what you're asking me, I think what you're asking me is that if her old boyfriend had harassed her for years, and to call the police. Is that what you're asking me?
But you would have, right?
I would have. If she told me that that man was harassing her for years and she felt threatened, and that was if that was equal, I absolutely would have called the police.
After she ended up dead, right? You would have told the police everything you knew about that after she ended up dead if the suspect was the old boyfriend.
Objection asked and answered.
She hasn't answered it.
I did. I said I would call.
Let's move on.
Now, you refused to talk to the police in connection with this investigation.
No, we did not.
You did not refuse to talk to the police?
No, we did not refuse to talk to the police. My husband talked to the police. He scheduled an appointment. I asked, it was so close, and I asked him, I'm like, do we have to meet this close with a detective? Can we just not get through the holidays and then meet with him? And so he asked his dad. His dad said he didn't think it would be a problem, that Pleasant Prairie would accommodate the schedule change. And so my husband called him back and said, hey, we want to reschedule after the holidays. And so he told me that the detective was going to call us back after the holidays, and he didn't do it. And so we just thought he didn't need to talk to us. There was no need.
Okay, so then you knew the police were investigating this, correct? And your prior answer that you didn't know is incorrect.
That's not true.
You just told us that the police were trying to meet with you, but it was just so soon. after
All
Julie's
he
death.
said was that he wanted to talk to us. If he would have told me that he was investigating my brother for murder, that would have put a different spin on that conversation, but he just said he wanted to talk to us.
He was only investigating Julie's death, so you didn't bother to talk to him.
We were going to talk to him. He never called us back.
Now, this case, this investigation has gone on a long time.
Indeed.
And isn't it true that at a prior hearing years ago, the detective came up to you and your husband and said, I still want to talk to you about this?
I don't remember that. And I don't remember having a conversation with anybody at the hearing, but I don't really remember the first hearing. It was a long time ago.
Well, isn't it true that the DA's office tried to talk to you before the very, very first hearing, the first hearing with testimony in 2002?
I think they did want to talk to me.
And you had a lawyer send the letter to the DA's office saying you didn't want to talk.
No, I think I had to send the letter.
You don't think it was a lawyer?
I don't know. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Either way, you made it clear you weren't going to talk to the DA's office.
No, that wasn't my intention. I didn't know what to expect. First of all, it felt like the police department had not been upfront with us and honest with us from the beginning. They never told us they were investigating.
Non-responsive. She was asked the question whether the DA's office tried to talk to her.
Well, whatever she said will stand. You can ask your question again if you wish.
So isn't it true that the first time that you provided information in this case in the way that the DA's office would be aware of it was at a hearing in the summer of 2007?
It was at a hearing. I don't remember the year.
Wasn't it the first time you testified in this case?
Yes,
And would 2007 make sense regarding that time frame?
I think so, yes.
Now, isn't it true that prior to that hearing, you met with the defense multiple times?
I did.
And isn't it true that you've always been available to the defense?
Yeah, well, we could always schedule something, yes.
And anytime that anyone from the defense wished to talk to you, you did.
Yes, it wasn't a lot, but I mean, yes, I talked to the defense.
Or if a defense expert wanted to talk to you, you would talk to that person,
I think I did, yeah.
but not to the police and not to the DA.
I didn't talk to the police.
All right, so the last group of questions I have is about Julie's funeral that you've testified about. Did your brother ask your opinion on whether he should bring his girlfriend to the funeral?
No, I didn't know he had a girlfriend.
And it's your testimony that would have upset you?
Yes.
You have any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not for today, Your Honor. Unfortunately, all of the rest of our witnesses are coming in from out of state, and they changed their flights as early as they could, but Monday is the earliest they could be there.
All right, folks, that's not the defense's problem. We're way ahead of schedule. That's the good news. And they were scheduled to be here next week, and they're bringing them in as fast as they can. They are. So can I tell them that we might be done by Tuesday with the testimony?
That would be up to the state. We'll be done with our witnesses on Monday.
Any idea as to rebuttal yet, Mr.?
Well, when are they going to be done with the witnesses on Monday? Do they know?
As soon as Attorney Jamboys is done crossing them.
Oh. Well, that will be very brief, I'm sure. I'll make no
This
representation.
is all being recorded, you know that.
I'll say this, Judge. Depending upon when they get done with their witnesses, we do have a few rebuttal witnesses.
I understand that.
And I would anticipate, I'd be surprised if we're not doing closing arguments by Wednesday.
All right. Good news, right? Okay. Have a good weekend, folks. Don't talk about the case. Thank you very much what you've done for these 3 weeks.
What's going on, guys? So, yeah, as it's bright, and that's not bright enough. Yeah. Jeez, it's in a dark room here. As we were saying, it is court is over for the day in both. Yeah, Memphis isn't looking so good, man. Both in South Carolina and in sorry, I'm all over the border now. Pleasant Prairie. So Kenosha. So between now and when we jump back up, we're gonna go ahead and call it a day for now, and we will potentially be up this weekend. So make sure to set notifications and tune in should we jump off as things are looking to progress in Memphis. So that being said, turn that down. I hope you guys have had a great day. Lori, everybody, all my mods, thank you so much for the effort today and for being a part of this. I know it's been a crazy trial, and I've been listening as I've been doing back and forth with all of this and to the case, and it's just been nuts. But as we get ready for next week, I hope you guys are having an amazing, wrap your week up well, enjoy your weekend. And yeah, I'll keep you posted as things kind of develop here in the coming days, especially with today at 4 o'clock. In about 45 minutes, there's going to be the release of the body cam footage from Memphis with the 5 officers that have been fired for beating a traffic stop suspect to death. So stay tuned for that, and prayers and hopes go out to Memphis that things won't go terrible. But they say the video that will be released is going to be as bad, if not worse, than the Rodney King video. So that's saying a lot. And geez, man, I'm just blinded over here. Yeah, wild times. So sit tight, folks. We might have some craziness unfolding here within the next 45. And I'll let you know. Keep posted. Sorry, I know it says lunch break. We'll be back at 1:15. Again, Jose will get to you guys know what's up. It's going to be a choppy week and a half. All right. Talk to you soon, guys.